largest breakfast table. It's full of motivation, education, inspiration, and even a friendly competition with the positive intention of pushing your momentum in the right direction. Now listen, if you ever miss a segment, you can go download the Who You Know Show podcast, subscribe, and listen anytime. So head on over to whoyouknow.show, grab the link, and subscribe. And I'm super excited today. Joining us is Jack Espy, the visionary founder of Spirited Hive. Born in Denver and educated at USC, Jack's journey took an unexpected turn during the pandemic when he faced a job loss. I mean, how many of y'all can relate to that? Okay. Now, however, this adversity sparked some innovation. Okay. Sparked innovation. He found himself crafting cocktails for his friends, shaking it up, right? And this led to the birth of something called Spirited Hive. So good morning, Jack. Thanks for joining us today. And my first question to you is really like, wow. Okay, so I want you to take us back a little bit. Okay, you got let go during the pandemic, and then from that you just created a whole company and an empire, and you're just crushing it. What's going on here, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, Trevor. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Jack, founder and CEO of Spirited Hive. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy time. So I was actually still in college when the pandemic hit, and graduated, March 15th, straight into the pandemic. The job that I was supposed to get fell through. And I always kind of jokingly tell people, like everyone else at this point in time during the pandemic, I was, at home mixing up one too many quarantine cocktails. And, one night I was behind the bar, mixing up my two favorite drinks. My two favorite drinks are Moscow mules and Mexican mules. And I was making these drinks for all my buddies, or, my hive, if you will. And all my buddies were like, damn, Jack, like these drinks are so good. You have got to can these things. Cause that was kind of right at the beginning of the whole can cocktail boom. There was a new can cocktail coming out every single week at that point in time. And I was like, guys, you know what? I've got nothing else better going on, just lost a job. So, why not take a stab at it? How hard could it be to make my own canned cocktail? So we're all sitting around the bar thinking about different, new names for this brand that I was going to create. And after a couple of terrible names, I was like, wait, guys, what about the name Mint Bee? And they all pause and look at me and they're like, Mint Bee? Dude, that might be the stupidest name I've ever heard of, but why Mint Bee? And I was like, well, because there's mint in a Moscow mule, and bee because it's sweetened with honey. And they're like, dude, what are you talking about? There's no honey in either of those drinks. So little did I know, I'm not a mixologist by any means, but, I like that idea of a better for you canned cocktail. And Trevor and I, before, we started recording, we're kind of talking about, I care a lot about health and fitness, and I care about what I put into my body. And at this point in time, there's a lot of canned cocktails that were preaching that they were better for you, that were really focused on, low calories, and they tasted super sweet. So where are those sugars coming from? Those are all synthetic sugars, which are terrible for your body. So I was like, well, what if I took a different approach and made a canned cocktail company that sole premise was that it was only sweetened with the first world's natural sweetener, which is honey. So that was kind of, the beginning of this whole kind of brand of Spirited Hive and getting after it, which has been absolutely unreal. And it's been almost 4 years now, which is crazy to think. Actually 4 years as of like 7 days ago, that I started on this whole path of Spirited Hive.
That is so crazy. Okay, so number one, okay, so you got let go, right? Corporate America, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let me, we're in the pandemic. Let me shake up some cocktails here. And people loved them so much. They're, like, man, you should do this. And you just said, okay, like, let's talk about that for a second. What's the first step you took? Because that seems like a pretty big, right? Like mountain, right? To get to the top of the mountain, you may be looking, it's like overwhelming. What was the first thing? Was there someone you connected with, someone you reached out to? Was there a person, or did you just start doing research online? Like, how did you, like, I wouldn't even know how to can something. Okay. Like, what did you do?
Yeah, totally. And just so you and all the listeners know, it wasn't like I wanted to create, this and turn it into like a full blown brand. You know, it was like kind of a hobby, you know, because at this point in time,
Mm,
no one knew how long the pandemic was going to last. I, at this point, was like, oh, it'll be cool to kind of create this brand as like kind of a fun thing to do to pass the time. I wanted to get back into real estate finance and real estate investments, and that was my path. That's what I wanted to do.
got you.
And then I, you know, after one step to the next, it started to kind of grow. And I was like, okay, well, the first step is, you know, I was making these cocktails at home. So I was coming up with these concoctions and I was like, oh, these are really, really good. Bringing them to parties, kind of testing it, see how people liked it. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is really good. You should actually go after this and see what happens. So then I was like, okay, well, how do I do that? So I started looking up like formulators and co-packers and all these different things.
Mm.
But the most important thing was one of my family friends had actually started a canned cocktail back in the day, about, you know, 3 years prior to this. And I
Ah,
reached out to him. Yeah, because, you know, it's who you know at the
that's
end of the
right.
day. Because
Let's go.
yeah, because I didn't know anything about this industry at all. You know, I had never worked for anyone before, so, you know, I had no idea what I was doing. I was very naive to the whole industry. So I kind of, you know, picked this guy's brain, and I was
Mm.
like, hey, so how do I go about doing this? And he kind of laid out a very, very rough roadmap for me, which gave me the foundation to kind of start the process, to start actually looking into, okay, like, I need to get a formulator and go through the whole process of actually formulating this drink. And then after checking that box, you move on to the next. So it was a rough roadmap that gave me the foundation to kind of start off.
I love this. Okay, so let's stop here for just a moment. Okay, so the fastest way to get from A to Z, if you don't know where you're going and you're lost, okay, is to pull over and ask somebody that's been there for directions. Okay, and that's exactly what you did. You didn't know how to get to, you know, from A to Z, and you're like, well, but I know someone who has done this. Okay,
Yeah.
and you just, you know, you picked his brain, you asked him, okay, now let me ask you this. So in the 4 years that you know, since the pandemic, it's been 4 years,
Yep.
what was a mistake that you made that you're like, dang, if I could go back 4 years ago, I would have definitely cautioned myself not to do this?
There's been a couple, and anyone else who is a founder knows at that early stage, you know, each speed bump that you hit in the beginning feels massive. But
Mm,
as you go along that road of life and entrepreneurship, those speed bumps that you hit 4 years prior are like pebbles on the road now.
mm,
So it's really interesting to see how much you grow as a founder, and especially as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a business owner, whatever. So, you know, each one of those speed bumps along the roads gets a lot smaller as you grow. But I remember the first one, um, the first initial big kind of pothole we hit was when I was launching the brand. It was initially called, it wasn't called Spirited Hive, it was called Hive Cocktail.
okay.
And I was working with my attorneys on, you know, getting everything approved through the USPTO, getting everything trademarked and registered. And they were like, hey, look, the risk of getting Hive Cocktail trademarked is relatively high. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's relatively high. And at this point in time, so many people were starting new companies because of the pandemic that the
Mm.
USPTO office, usually to get a trademark was 3 months. Now it was like a year. So you're gambling on this whole idea of like, I'm going to go with this name. I won't really know for about a year. So you just kind of have to rush to get product to
So
market.
why did they say it was going to
So
be high? What was it about it that they said, you know, this is kind of a risky name?
yeah, so to get into detail on that, so Hive Cocktail, it's two descriptive words around the brand. So Hive, since there's honey in the drink, that's technically a descriptive word. Cocktail, since it's a cocktail, it's a descriptive word. It's hard to trademark descriptive words when it's talking about a brand specifically that uses those things. So like Hive and Cocktail, too descriptive of a brand. So
Mm.
that's why it was relatively risky. So fast forward 6 or 7 months when we're actually no, fast forward almost a year when we're actually about to produce product. I get a call like literally, I think it was like 3 weeks after we just did this first production run, had like Hive Cocktail cans, like we're all ready to go, about to get into market. And I get a call from my attorney and says, hey, look, like we just got rejected from the USPTO. Like, you can still do it and you can still release product. That's totally fine. The USPTO is almost more of like an assurance thing. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to launch a brand on a, on solid foundation. Like, that's the last thing I want to do, because it may be a big issue now, but it would be 10 times bigger of an issue 2, 3, 4 years from now, having to make that change.
Rebrand
So I was like, all right,
everything. Yeah.
let's rebrand it right now.
Yep.
And mind you, we were the exclusive ready to drink of the Nashville Soccer Club. So they were just building out all of our branded bars and all this point. And we made the switch, or I made the switch over a weekend and changed the name. I literally had an epiphany moment. I was like, Spirited Hive. What the heck? Why didn't I think of this before? And just rebranded everything and got everything kind of, we had to like re-sleeve every single can. It was crazy. But those are the kind of moments that kind of mold you as not only a leader, but also as an entrepreneur.
1000%. So you pivoted like on a dime. You were like, boom, let's go. Okay. And okay, well, you also talked about this partnership. Okay. So you've secured some partnerships with some major sports teams and things like that. Okay. So first of all, what was some strategies that you used to get the attention of some of these partnerships and to secure some of these partnerships? And then tell me what the outcome has been for your business's growth, having some of these sports teams. Can you talk about that?
Totally. Yeah. So how we actually secured the first one, which was the Nashville Soccer Club, which has been an amazing partnership for us. We're the exclusive ready to drink over there. And it's been, amazing since we first launched with them. So how we actually got that sponsorship was actually pretty funny. So one of my buddies, close friend, was actually working on the partnerships team over there at NSC and had seen this whole growth of, this idea of Mint B, yada, 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 to building it as a Nashville brand. He was like, look, I know you're an upcoming brand and I know this is extremely risky, but what if you did some partnerships with us and like did some like LED advertising? And I was like, dude, we have like no money. Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not gonna sink money into something like that has an awesome upside, but also has a crazy downside if it does not go well, just depending on how much money gets put into it. And after, talking about it for months and months and months, I was like, you know what, this is the best way for us to really, punch above our weight class, if you will, because, this industry is so beyond saturated. You have to do something ballsy to really get recognized. And I was like, this is a perfect way of doing it. So we launched with them, and actually we launched our product, Spirited Hive, on May 1st of 2022, which so happened to be the exact same day as the opening of the new NSC Stadium, which was also May 1st. So think about this, like, no one had ever seen this product before, ever. And the first opening day, which was a fully sold out stadium, over 30,000 people, everyone was pretty much drinking Hive. And it was like the craziest moment of my life. It was so cool.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that actually, what was really cool is we did so well that the Tennessee Titans saw us and they're like, we want to bring you on as the exclusive ready drink of the Tennessee Titans. There was actually 2 canned cocktails. So it was us and another brand that owned that category. And I was like, hey, look, it did really, really well at NSC. Let's take another gamble and see how well it does with the Tennessee Titans. And then that went even better. I mean, from a case sales perspective, we sell a ton and it's a much bigger stadium. And then that led into doing a sound, so minor league baseball team in Nashville. And then now we're with the Predators, who are actually having an absolute tear right now. So hopefully, they keep going so we can keep selling more product this year. But yeah, everything kind of snowballed, and everything kind of worked out. And it was an insane gamble because, Trevor, if that had failed, like let's say no one purchased product because of tight house laws. I don't know if you know anything about tight house laws in beverage alcohol, but even if we did a partnership with Nashville Soccer Club, if product did not sell, they can't make the concessionaire, because that's illegal. You cannot make the concessionaire carry the product. So if it flopped, then they would bring in another canned cocktail. We would still have all the advertisements, but we wouldn't even be sold. So if that happened, then we would have been stuck paying a ton of money for this partnership and not selling any product. So, you know, it's definitely a gamble, but sometimes in the beginning you have to make those risky moves to really get a good outcome.
Man, that's so impactful. So you took that risk, okay, and I'm sure it was a pretty, like you said, it was an expensive, partnership, right? But
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
I think about these partnerships because I was recently speaking with the Mavericks about a partnership,
Hmm.
and they were actually, it was their 2K league, which is their basketball video game league, 2K
Okay.
league. Right. And there's a whole giant community over that. And they were showing me all these different partnership options, which was pretty cool. Neat stuff. Like literally you could advertise inside of the video game, which I thought was pretty cool, like on the
Hmm.
court, and all that kind of stuff. But like I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what's the conversion? Right. What's the actual conversion? And so for you, by getting the product in front of people at a stadium, like I could imagine the conversion was probably that's a good partnership. Like that's a good type of partnership. But there are some where it's like you get a plug here or there, you get this or you get that, and you're like thinking in your head, okay, but how's that literally going to convert? Right. And so it
Yeah.
sounds
Like
like
what's the ROI on it?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. But still I could see where, you going into this could be risky, but man, if they're getting eyeballs and you're getting customers in front of your product, a high number of potential customers, man, that's awesome. So it did
Oh,
well.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah, and also too, to make a point on that, you know, it's one of those only it's like it's a very interesting partnership because you look at F&B, food and beverage. If you do a partnership with a stadium and F&B, especially at beverage alcohol, you know, people drink at any event they go to. So if you're doing
Mm,
a partnership with a stadium or with a team per se, you're actually doing a partnership with the stadium. So any concert, any event, they will continue to sell your product at that event. Whether let's say you were partnering with that same team, you would not have any advertisement there because you're
mm,
not a physical product. So
right.
since we're a physical product, they still have to sell us there. So we get to get sales throughout the whole season. You know, for the actual team, and then after the any events, concerts, and all that. So it's been an amazing partnership. We're very very happy with all of them.
Well, I just think it's an amazing story, and I want to go ahead and give you your roses. Okay, give you your roses and celebrate you because you went from being let go during the pandemic to just out here crushing it, and I love it. I just think what a cool story. What is the next? Like, what's your vision for this company? What's the next like 5 years look like for you? Because you're a young guy. You're out here crushing, doing your thing. What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I mean, with this brand, slowly growing it, you know, we don't want to get ahead of our boots and try to open up too many states because, you know, for us, you know, I really want to have that organic growth, and the sense of community and Hive means so much to me that, you know, we really want to own our Hive communities in each market that we go into, and choose markets that make sense. Nashville's been an amazing market for us. Austin has been an awesome market. We're looking at going into a couple of other states this year. But something that we're super excited about is I'm launching actually another brand right now, which is a sister brand to Spirited Hive, which will be coming out very soon. I can give a little bit of detail. I can't give
Yeah,
too
come on, man.
much, but
You heard it here
yeah,
first on the Who You
I'll give
Know
you the
show.
nuggets.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on,
I'll
man.
give you
Get it.
some nuggets.
Let us in on the scoop.
Yeah, so what we're doing is kind of like I was telling you about, you know, I'm so focused on health and wellness and, you know, really worrying about what I put in my body and always trying to be 100%. And to do that, you know, not only do we have the Better For You Can cocktail, Spirited High, but what can we add to that, or a supplemental thing that we can add to that to make sure that, you know, we're making the drinking occasion as better for you as possible. And what I saw is hydration drinks, recovery drinks, and energy drinks, um, all sweetened with, you could probably guess, honey. So we're trying to make one of the cleanest energy, hydration, and recovery drinks really on the market. And there'll be some cross pollination, if you will, between Spirited Hive and this new brand.
Right.
And that should be hopefully launching July 1st. So, you know, I just really want to create a brand that's so focused on not only community with the aspect of Hive, but also on a brand that is really focused on, hopefully bettering people's lives, and being able to substitute, drinks and have a better for you alcohol substitute rather than the other canned cocktails of the world. And then hopefully we can do the same thing with this energy recovery and hydration drink here pretty soon.
Yeah, we were talking behind stage, okay? When you were telling me about like you're into fitness and health and all of that, I said, man, you should do like a protein alcohol shake, like a like alcohol protein shake pre and post. You go before you get jacked up. You know what I'm saying? You get a buzz. But no, that's so cool. So energy drinks, hydration drinks, and what was the other one? You said there was 3, right?
Recovery. Yeah. So we want to be able to, and the idea is that these drinks can kind of work together. So, if we were tossing back a couple of Spirited Hives, you would probably sub in, instead of having a water between drinks, you could have the hydration. And then after you're done drinking, either later that day or later that evening, you would crack open the recovery, which has L-theanine, magnesium, everything to kind of promote muscle regeneration. And also because if you drink a ton and you're super hungover the next morning, your muscles feel sore, it's because you're extremely dehydrated. So those supplements kind of help, help with that. And then also too, we're going to have a low milligram caffeinated version. So if you are feeling kind of hungover and you need some energy, clean energy, that is, you can crack open our low milligram caffeinated version, which is around 100 milligrams of caffeine to kind of jumpstart your morning so you can own your day.
Let's go. So you're getting people, on one side, they're having a great evening. Okay. Great evening out with the Spirited Hive, having a great time. Okay. They wake up, they're feeling a little bit, okay. They get hydrated. Okay. You fix it. Okay. You fix the problem.
You fix it. We fix it. We're here to fix everyone's problems. Yeah.
I love that. How cool is that? It's like you keep them coming back over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, the idea too, Trevor, on that, which is super exciting, is like obviously, we're trying to own our consumers during the week with this hydration, recovery, and energy drink. So that way, you can have it at any time of the day, which is awesome. And then during the weekend, we want to own our consumers with Spirited Hive. So that way, it's full circle, 365. We're having our consumers coming and purchasing one of, our products.
I love that. I love it. And there's it's a big market for this kind of stuff, man. I mean, you see all these different products out here, and there's just always something new coming out every time you turn around. So talk to me about that, because there's so much competition, right? I know competition in this space is like, it's pretty deep. So what are you doing to stand out, to differentiate yourself? I know we talked about partnerships. Anything else? Tell me what you're doing to stand out and really like get the information out there to the consumer.
Totally. Yeah. And I would have to say, this is probably one of the most saturated industries right now, not only beverage alcohol, but ready to drink canned cocktails. Like I was saying, there's pretty much one coming out every single week. It's kind of died down a little bit because the barrier to entry is pretty strong now. But the way to stay relevant and stay different is having a niche product. If you don't have a niche product in this industry, or really most industries, it's hard to get any traction. So for us, being that better for you canned cocktail, and like what we were kind of saying earlier, health and wellness in beverage alcohol jut in 2 totally opposite directions. So people are kind of confused when I first tell them, like, oh yeah, we're trying to be that better for you canned cocktail in the space. So like, what do you mean better for you canned cocktails? Like, alcohol is poison. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but we're trying to make a poison that's a little bit better for you rather than the other options. So, if you don't have that niche kind of factor, especially in this industry, if you're going to make a margarita, good luck. Get at the back of the line of the other 1,000 margarita canned cocktail companies. You have to have that wow factor that keeps people coming back. And since that we're not only sweetened with honey, but that we have this whole messaging around who's your hive, who's your community, because, community is something that's really lacking this day and age, and that's something I'm really trying to emulate and bring back to the table, that sense of community. So doing a lot of events and activations that, bring people not only to, yes, enjoy Hive, but to enjoy each other's companies, enjoy, your friends, new friends, meeting new people, So we put on all these events that are very, very different. So, people remember them. And yes, a good amount of them have to do with what I like to call type 2 fun. So a workout or whatever that is. And what type 2 fun is during the workout, you're like, this is terrible. And you might not be having fun, but you have fun afterwards because you did it with a group and you succeeded and you finished it. So then we'll crack open some cocktails, later that day. So after the event, and it's probably on a Friday, you'll be opening up a couple of drinks. So, that's a big thing. So doing a lot of events, activations, clearly the partnerships are big for us. And then we're doing an ambassador program, which we're super excited about. So anyone listening, if we're actually opening it back up next week. So if you're interested in being a Hive ambassador, I can share some details with Trevor. So anyone who's listening can join that program. And what that really is just growing that Hive community, through socials and events. So that's been another great way. But you kind of have to be somewhat of a chameleon in this industry, and you have to, like I like to say, throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and then really double down on what does stick. And it's such a tough industry, and such a tough industry to really get started in, that you have to try a lot of different marketing and advertising tactics to see what actually works.
So I want to touch on a couple things you said. So the niche, right? They say the riches are in the niches. And so what you were trying to go after is this kind of like healthy cocktail, right? And I think that's really cool, because when I think about that, there is a brand that stands out to me that I think of when I immediately think of, which is Michelob Ultra. Okay. Like when I think about beer, like they heavily market the fact that it's like, I don't know how many calories it is, but
low
very
carb,
low
calorie.
Yeah, exactly. They market that. That's like their thing. And so that's the brand that really, and they did it well. I think they did it well compared to other brands that are trying to do the same thing. Cause I think it's not like they're really less than some of the other light beers. They just market it more. They market the fact that they're a low calorie beer. So that's cool. Riches are in the niches, right? Throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. You got to get out there and you got to try different things. And I think so many people today are afraid to try things because they're afraid of failure, right? They're like, they start telling themselves, well, what if this doesn't work? Right? Instead of, well, what if it does work? Right. And I see that a lot of times. I get to coach and mentor different folks, and I see that a lot. I'll come up with an idea or, something that's outside the box, something that maybe hasn't been tried yet. Again, you're throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're trying different things. And I come up with a lot of ideas, and I sometimes get resistance from people. And in that resistance is, well, what if it doesn't? What are they going to think? What is this? What is that? Right. It's all of those negatives. They're looking at the glass half empty instead of half full. And it's like, hey, well, let's reframe it. Let's turn that around for just a moment. And let's look at, hey, what if it does work? What's the opportunity? Right. And you're never going to find out unless you try. So go try it. Right. And what you're saying is double down on the things that work. And, the ones that don't, take it behind the barn and shoot it.
Exactly. And what I think the woman that was on here right before, Amanda, was saying, do it messy and do it scared. And that really resonated with me, because when I was first starting this brand, and kind of like what I was saying at the beginning, is you're super fragile. You're very fragile when you start, you need to put a bunch of chinks in that armor, because if you don't, and if you shy away from the first pothole you hit, and you just give up, that's the worst part. And doing it messy and doing it scared, I absolutely love, because when I first started that, I didn't know where to start. Everything was super messy and everything was scary, because I was like, oh my God, like I have no money. I have this idea. I have this vision. How do I put it in? And I don't know where to start, but you have to start somewhere. And I think it's so interesting, because so many people ask me like, oh, it's so cool that you're a founder. It's so cool that you went after something. And it's very, like, I'm so proud of you. It's really great. And it's like, and everyone's like, oh, it must be so hard. And I'm like, look, it's really not hard. You just have to have that perseverance, and you have to start somewhere. That's the biggest thing. And I think that's something that, you know, you look at a bunch of founders at the end of the day, you know, what they do. Yeah, it's different across the board. But for me, I see it as not being hard because I love what I do. But if you don't have that perseverance, then you're never going to get anywhere, and you have to actually start. So each marketing idea and advertising idea that we do that's out of the box, yes, it's very scary because you could lose a lot of money and it could be a detriment to your company. But looking at that upside, that like, oh, you know, that white space of the better for you canned cocktail industry, if we really own that, it could be a couple $100 million company. So let's go after it. And if we leaned more into like, let's just be a regular canned cocktail, you know, which is a lot safer, you know, we probably wouldn't be here today. So, you
let's
know,
talk about
just trusting your
that.
gut.
Yeah, let's talk about that spaghetti again. Okay, so what are some of the
Yeah.
ideas and some of the things that have flopped? Okay, because I'm sure it's like, hey, I'm
Oh,
trying this, I'm trying that, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, and it's like, but even if it flops, it's like, hey, no big deal. Let's just keep trying things. What are some things that just didn't really work?
Yeah, we put some money into like, you know, festivals and stuff like that. And something that's really interesting is that, you know, consumers are they're how do I put this? You know, consumers only stay interested for so long. So
Mm,
we've tried to do a bunch of festivals in states that we didn't even have distribution in, which was a big issue because, you
mm.
know, Trevor, let's say you see Spirited Hive at some festival and you try the drink, you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then later that day or later that week, you go to a retailer and you're like, hey, do you have Spirited Hive? They're like, no, never heard of it. Then you're probably going to not ask for it again, you know, and that. So it's like making sure that the marketing ideas that you do really can line straight into people purchasing. So that's one.
Oh my gosh, you know what this
You know,
reminds me of? Hold on. Before you go
mhm.
into the next one, it
Yeah,
reminds
yeah,
me of a story. Okay, real quick, I want to tell a story. So
yeah.
Belize, okay, Belize. I went there,
Hmm.
and they have a beer there called Bellican beer, and you can only get it in Belize. Okay, so it did kind of that scarcity kind of created that, you know, that kind of buzz, right? Like you had to
Yeah.
have Bellican beer, like it's like the beer to have, right? So, anyways, me and my brother, we go, and I think I'm probably like 18, 19 years old, something like that.
Hmm.
And they have in the tourist section of Belize, they have like this section where it's like, hey, don't go beyond this point. Okay. Cause they got like armed guards and everything. Like, hey, if you go beyond this point,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
we can't guarantee your safety, right? It's kind of a rough part of the rough part of this place. But we wanted that Bellican beer. Oh my gosh. And we didn't want to pay tourist prices. We wanted like a case. I was like, I need a case of beer. And so, anyways, we're young and dumb, and we go past that point, okay? And this guy comes up to us. I swear his name is Smokey. Okay, no joke. He had a laminated business card. Okay, that's like, I'll get you whatever you want. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
He's like, whatever you need, man. I'll get you this. Da da da. He comes up. And we're like, we want Bellican beer. You know, we don't need any of that other crazy stuff. We just want some Bellican beer. And so he takes us like into the hood, man. We're going into this bad neighborhood, and people are trying to hit us up. Like other people are trying to hit us
Hmm.
up, and he's fending them off. He's like, no, these are like mine, you know.
These are my
And
guys. Yeah,
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 yeah. And he takes us into this bar, and like I'm talking a dive bar, man. And the guy starts pulling out all this Bellican beer. We load up our backpack. We slip him $20, and he takes us back. But man, I think about what we did for some stupid beer, man. We
yeah.
like that could have went sideways real fast, but it was the scarcity of it. So did you find that in that scenario where you advertised in an area, did that create any buzz because people couldn't get it? Sometimes that scarcity creates like the FOMO. Did it create any FOMO of like, I can't?
Totally.
It did. Okay, cool.
100%. Yeah, and that works out great. You know, the only issue with that is like we create that FOMO, but you only have that FOMO for so long. You
Mm.
know,
And then you
and
forget
also
about it.
too, and then you forget about it, and then
Yeah.
you may see it again later. And for us, you know, for such a small company, you doing these big events where it costs a lot of money, it for me, it's all about ROI. And you know, I really want to get the most out of every dollar I spend, especially this early on. And you know, that's what was so scary about those big partnerships, because I was like, oh my god, if this does not go well, we are screwed and we're gonna have to fold this company.
Mm.
um So, that ROI just wasn't there. And I was like, okay, well, let's change it. Maybe we'll come back to this later when we have more distribution and we can drive consumers to retail to purchase, etc. Um, but another thing was, doing a lot of sponsorships with, you know, we have an athlete program, and our athletes are doing amazing. But in the beginning, we paid kind of big money for certain influencers and stuff like that to post about the product, because I was like, oh, they have so many followers, it'd be awesome for them to post it. Same
Ooh,
kind of thing. They
ooh, I
post
got
it
somebody
once and then
for
it's
you.
gone.
I got somebody for you,
Yeah,
Jack. If I could hook you up, man, let me see if it's all about who
yeah.
you know, right? So I know
It's
somebody,
all about who
okay?
you know.
It's all about who you know. So this guy, Chris Gronkowski, okay? His brother Rob Gronkowski's won all the Super Bowls
Yep,
and all of that, right? With Tom Brady.
yep.
So Chris Gronkowski started up a company called Ice Shaker,
Oh, I
which is
saw Ice Shaker. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's blowing up. It's exploding. He went on Shark Tank and got invested in by Mark Cuban and all that stuff. And anyway, the company's just exploding, and he's here where I'm at here in Dallas. And we've got a pretty good relationship. So yeah, maybe there's something there, because what I love about them is their product. Again, it's a drinking product, right? And but they use it for all kinds of stuff. They mix cocktails inside of them and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
athletic, so these guys are all beasts, so they're in the health and fitness and all of that. And so I don't know, maybe there's some synergy there. I think
I would
th-
absolutely love an introduction. That would be
and
amazing.
and
Yeah.
they party like crazy. Oh my gosh, they have this thing
Oh
called
yeah.
Gronk Beach, okay, in Vegas, right before like the draft and all of that. It's a draft party in Vegas, and they freaking party like it's called Gronk Beach. It's like a big party they throw at one of the pool party hotel things, whatever. It's crazy looking, man. So who knows? Maybe Spirited Hive could partner up with Gronk Beach thing. I don't
I
know,
would love that. That would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, that
right?
whole Gronk family,
Oh, dude, they're
that whole
insane.
Gronk family is hilarious. Yeah, yeah,
They,
yeah.
yeah, they
I would
are
absolutely
absolute
love
beasts.
that. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's all about who you know. So yeah, maybe I can make an introduction there and just see where that goes. You know what I'm saying? That'd be pretty cool.
I would
All
love
right.
that.
So another thing too that you talk a lot about is personal development, right? It seems to be a core
Yep.
value for you and for Spirited Hive. So how do you integrate personal growth and the principles of personal growth into your business practices? And then why do you believe that it's been, important for your success?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, personal development for me is such an important part of just not only becoming a better person, but becoming a better leader. Because it is a very interesting scenario going from never working for anyone before to getting thrown right into being a CEO,
Mm,
leader, and founder all at the same time. So when I first started off, I always was trying to manage my employees, manage them, manage them. How do I manage them? Yeah, 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 yeah. I wasn't trying to lead them,
mm,
and I think that's something that, you have to kind of look inward, and you have to do a lot of personal development to kind of figure out, okay, like, how do I lead someone? How is an effective way of leading? And it's kind of the same thing. You have to throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what tactics actually work.
mm,
And you kind of have to start from the beginning, and something that kind of like taking a step back, and, because if you're not leading yourself, and you're not staying true to yourself and following your own word, then how could anyone else follow you? So that's something
mm,
that I take real responsibility in, that I always do what I'm going to say.
mm,
All right, I'm always going to say what I'm going to do, and then also too, that leads in, my biggest pillar with the gym. I always try to stay on top of my health and fitness, and that's something that really has driven my personal development, not only from like an aesthetic pleasing way and all that, but also from a mental way.
mm,
If you're going to say you're going to get into the gym, in the morning, you go and do that. You get that done, and that can bleed into, your everyday life and being a leader. And it's something that has been such a big big crucial role in my life, is staying on top of, the things that I'm going to say and the things that I'm going to do, and actually trying to lead rather than manage my employees has been such an important part of growing this brand, Spirited Hive.
Yeah, I love that. And so when you're talking about leading versus managing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
tell me your definition of the difference, okay, leading versus managing, and then like how much inspiration do you include in there? Is there any like are you trying to inspire the people that work for you to, follow, or like talk to me about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing between managing and leading is like actually doing it with your
With
employees, you know,
getting your
not
hands
just telling
dirty.
them what to do, getting your hands dirty. And like we have these things in the industry called crew drives. And what crew drives are is, you work with your distributor, you actually go into the market and you sell the product into each retailer. You go from retailer to retailer. It's a grind and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but you're actually in the field. And most founders in this space don't really do that because that's, very low level to be doing. But I get out there as many times as I can to get out there and work with not only my sales reps, but my distributors, because at the end of the day, distributors are the ones that are selling your product. And if
Mm,
you see a founder not really care and is like, oh yeah, that's too below for me to go do that, they're gonna be like, screw you. So I try to get out there as much as I can to get my hands dirty, get in the market, shake hands, kiss babies, do all that, and really move the needle for this product, and
so
also
it,
show not only my employees that I care,
so it's lead
and
by
I'm leading from the front.
example. Yeah, like yeah, there you go.
Totally.
Lead from the front, lead by example.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times, again, managing, people want to tell you what to do, It's do as I say, not as I do, right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
Do as I say, not as I do. But leading is, again, like you said, leading from the front, and getting your hands dirty, getting out there and showing them like, hey, and that's something that I do with my team all the time. Like, I'm like, listen, what I'm about to share with you, what I'm about to go over with you is something that I do myself. Like, listen, this is what I'm doing. Let me show you what I'm doing, and let me show you the results
Yeah.
that it's getting. I'm not just talking about, hey, this is what I would do. No, this is what I'm doing. Come follow me. Let me show you the way. Let me show you the path. And you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. And also, I think something that, like, this industry is meant to be fun, and that's something that I love to do, is just throw that excitement into it and try to get my employees as amped as possible. And if we have a
Mm,
problem that pops up, we'll figure it out. Like, there's that big pothole, but we still see that mountain in the distance. Like, we're getting to that mountain and we're gonna have as much fun doing it as we can.
mm.
So just problem solving is really, really tough. But like, how can we problem solve in an effective way, but hopefully a fun way as well? Because
That's
that, gets
that's
people
what.
through that crappy moment of whatever it is a little bit easier.
That's it right there. The fun. Okay. So listen, when my background before financial services was the automotive industry.
Mhm.
And one of the things in the automotive industry I was really, really good at was getting people excited, about the car, and literally getting people like you should see, I would light people up. They would get so excited, and it was fun to me. I had fun doing it. And then fast forward years later, I get into financial services, and let's just be honest, okay? Some of the topics are boring, okay? They're not the most excitable,
Yep. Yep.
retirement and life insurance. Like,
401k.
yeah. Some of that stuff's kind of boring, right? So,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about like how I remember saying this years ago. How do we make this fun? How do we make this exciting? How do we make it where people leave and they're like, they feel like they made a good decision and they're excited about it, instead of just like, yeah, this was something I know I needed to do. Like, kind of like, you need to go to
Yeah.
the dentist, but nobody's excited to go to the dentist, right? You need
Yeah.
to, but they're not jumping up and down like, yes, I'm going to the dentist today. You know what I mean? So like, it's been something constantly for me in my business about how do I interject some energy, some excitement, some fun, right? How do we make it fun? Because honestly, if clients aren't having fun, I'm not having fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I'm not having fun, I'm not performing at my peak. I want to be having fun and having energy and a good time, right? So Yeah, talk to me more about that. What are some things that you've done to add a little bit of extra fun, energy, and excitement? Of course,
Hmm.
you're probably throwing back a few of your own drinks that might help.
Oh yeah. Well, when we do like activations and tastings and all of that, like I just try to bring as much energy as I can. And the thing that's so tough too is this, post-COVID world, like my all my employees are remote. So it is, I'm not gonna lie, it is difficult to get that sense of energy and
Mm,
excitement when you're not with your employees. So
mm,
how and that's something too that we're still trying to navigate, like, and I'm still trying to figure out that secret sauce to getting
mm.
employees amped when you're not with them in person and it's through Zoom. We have weekly calls on Friday, and I always have like funny things if someone's like trying to talk and they're on mute. I'll like call them out and make it funny and make everyone kind of like bring it in, bring some funny humor in on it. So that's always fun. But we always do a lot of interesting banter and do a bunch of kind of like company building exercises when we're in
Mm,
person, because we are tossing back a couple of hives when we're doing
mm.
events and activations. So that's always great. But still
That's
trying to find that secret sauce for
yeah,
remote
yeah,
work.
yeah. That's such a good point, right? So one of the reasons we saw such a massive shift called the Great Resignation. I'm sure you probably heard about it. Everybody was switching jobs a lot, through the pandemic and even
Hmm.
after the pandemic, was because everybody got first they got let go. Okay, similar to you, right? You got let go during the pandemic, and then
Hmm.
they get a new job, but that job was remote, okay, which everybody said they
Yep.
wanted. Everybody said they wanted that, okay, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but listen, everybody's like, I want remote work, right? And then they get remote work, and what happens is every day's Groundhog's Day. It's hard to create
Yep.
that what we're talking about with the energy and with
Sense of community.
the community, and so what happens is over amount of time they feel disconnected from their work, and now it's just
Yep.
work. There's no sense of
Yep.
community. There's no culture. There's no like your culture is your, your house, right? You're at your
Yeah.
home. Like, and so every day becomes Groundhog's Day. And so what happened was people got disconnected. And so they started looking for, well, that whole the grass is greener on the other side, right? So they're looking, and
Yep.
and so they were switching jobs a lot, right? And so it's been one of those issues that a lot of companies are trying to solve that issue of how do we effectively lead remote workers and keep them engaged. It's the engaged, they're not engaged, right?
Yeah.
So I know you'd mentioned a couple of things that you do. So it's about, you almost have to kind of drag them out every once in a while and do a team building type of an exercise, don't you? You almost have to like, listen, you got to bring your butt out here. Okay. Put your pants on.
Oh, totally. And I don't do it enough. And that is one thing that
I
we're
know, me
trying to. That
neither.
was
I
like,
know.
it's something that I want to do more in 2024. And I think something that we've done that has been extremely effective is, I always try to incentivize my employees as much as I can. And, I try to preach as much as possible that they're their own entrepreneur. What's so
Mm,
great about, especially our sales reps, and that's because they're the ones that are out in the field every single day. And, they're pretty much running their own schedules. They're doing their own tastings. They're going to the accounts that they want to go to. And yes, we have criteria that they need to hit, but I'm all about incentivizing them so that way that they feel like they're their own boss and I'm just here to help them along the way, lead them, and they need anything, I'm here. But to incentivize them to feel like they're their own boss and that they're kind of leading their own role, which is very beneficial. And I've seen that work the best. And yes, sometimes that doesn't work because that's too much not enough responsibility, almost like it's too much like on them, but I've seen it's worked very, very effectively for us. And that's kind of what I try to do with all of my sales reps is really push them to do it themselves. And when they need help, I'm always there to help them along the way.
so that's kind of like entrepreneurship, right? So, helping them to, think like an entrepreneur, but they're working
Yeah,
within an organization. Uh,
exactly.
I love that, giving them the power to do that, right? I think a lot of
Hmm.
companies, especially when it comes to social media and things like that, they have policies in place to keep their employees from really doing a lot on social, when instead think about if these companies turn their own employees into brand ambassadors, you know, and even incentivize them instead of discouraging them from using social and stuff like that. What about like, hey, like incentivize them some kind of way to promote you? Like, why would you not have your employees promoting your product and being brand you know, ambassadors for you? It's,
behind it. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just silly to me. It's backwards to me. And I think what it is you know, I think they're worried about, obviously a lot of companies are worried about, you know, okay, well, what if they're saying things that aren't aligned with what the company's mission or vision and values are? You know, what if they get out there and say things that, you know, don't really quite align? And then, you know, we do live in a litigious society, and we live in a world where everything's cancel culture and stuff like that. So I think that's the concern. What have you done to maybe mitigate some of that and allow, you know, again, your employees to be brand ambassadors for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always urging them to post as much as possible whenever they're cracking open a hive and they're with their friends. Like, post about it, you know, because you're the most authentic person to be posting about it. You see the ins and outs of the brand every single day. So it makes sense. So I'm 100%, however they want to do it, as long as, you know, they're smart and they know what to do about around it. Like 100%, like go crazy, you know, as long as you're with your hive community and you're posting about it and you know they know the true ethos behind the brand, so they know how to do it. So I have full confidence in them 100%. But it's urging them to do it. I urge them to do it. Like, if you're ever having a hive, like, post about it, you know,
Love
post it on
that.
socials. We'll repost it. And then that only grows more momentum. Only more people are going to see that, you know, they're going to see that post from multiple different ways. And it's very authentic. It's organic growth is the way that I see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I mean, and the fact that you get behind them and support them in that way, you know, is really cool. So I appreciate that. Coming from an industry that is very lot of compliance, a lot of regulation,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
some handcuffs, and there's some you know, red tape, and it makes it a little bit more challenging to navigate some of that stuff. And so I think it's pretty cool that you know, again, you back them up, you get behind them, and you know, you're allowing them to do that, which ultimately helps you, and it helps them also connect with, you know, again, that sense of community, that culture of your company. Like, you know, the more they're doing that, the more engaged they are. It's showing that they're engaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I want them to be proud of the brand that they work for. You
Yeah.
know, that's something that, you know, we
What
want to put that sense of, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what happens when one of your employees shows up, you know, drunk to work or hungover to work? You ever had that? They're calling in with the brown bottle flu. You ever had that?
The brown bottle
Yeah, the
flu.
Spirited Hive flu. You ever had that?
It it's happened. It's happened. I mean, look, our company's based in Nashville, you know, and not everyone lives in Nashville. So when people come in for work events in Nashville, and let's say, and I have some pretty young employees, so they'll go out on Broadway a little bit too late and wake up, you know, feeling a little bit hungover, and I'll see it, and I'll give them shit for it 100%. You know, because I got to keep them honest.
Hey man, they were really supporting the brand, man. Come on, man. They were getting behind it, like all in, like they were all in, man.
We were posting about it all night. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. They were putting in overtime, bro.
Yeah.
You should give them a raise. What are you doing?
I know, right?
No, that's awesome.
Oh,
Hey,
so
listen, I could talk to you all day. I know there's a lot of golden nuggets in what you've done. I mean, what you've done has been, you know, just amazing in 4 years. And I think that's an inspiration for people listening. Like, if you have a dream, you know, and we all do, right? You got a dream. If you don't have a dream, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get one, you know, have a vision. Like, if you have a dream, a vision, something that you've always wanted to do, you know, I think one of the main lessons from this episode is, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what to do, you don't know that first step, find somebody who's done it before, right?
Totally.
There's not very many original ideas anymore. Let's just put it to you that way. There's not a whole lot of original ideas anymore. So chances are, whatever your dream is, whatever your idea is that you have, somebody else has already done it. Okay.
Yeah.
And go reach out to those people and go see if you can get some, like you said, a roadmap, a blueprint, a clear path, something that they can take and take just that first step. Right. I think that's the major takeaway, because it's inspiring to see what 4 years can do for you. In 4 years, and what's the next 4 years going to look like? I mean, this is something that if you don't ever take that first step, it ain't never going to happen. Okay.
Totally. 100%.
How can the listeners connect with you, with Spirited Hive, and get some of that? Okay. And get connected with the community. You know what I'm saying? And are you going to send me a case? Are you going to send me a case? That's all I need to know.
Oh yeah, I will send you a case. Don't you worry, Trevor.
Let's go.
But yeah, for
you
all
need
the
me on
out there.
You need me on a social post.
On a podcast.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, right here.
Yeah, that could be our thumbnail.
That would look perfect.
Right? I need you. I need
the
you.
New thumbnail.
Dang, why didn't I have one? I should have bought some, okay? And I should have been over here. We should have had our thumbnail, okay?
Sipping on it.
Yeah.
11 in the morning. I like
Sipping on some scissor.
Hey, it's Hive o'clock somewhere. It's always Hive o'clock somewhere.
You see that?
Boom. Always. B puns are the best puns.
Let's go.
But yeah, anyone out there, listening, you can connect with me on Instagram at Jack Espy or at Spirited Hive. And then if you want to purchase some, we sell online to 32 different states. So just spiritedhive.com. And we just launched some new merch out there too. So if you want to buy some of that as well, go for it. But yeah,
I need some merch too, bro. I need some merch. I need some of that Spirited Hive. I get into fitness too. I'm in here working out. I'm ready for your new products, man. You might have a new brand ambassador. I'm just saying.
I love it.
Well, guys, that's the show. It's all about who you know. Bye.